Battle of Endor, seen in Return of the Jedi, is often remembered as a triumphant rebel victory, a celebration with fireworks and Ewoks. But beneath that cinematic surface lies one of the most complex and catastrophic military failures in galactic history. This was not just a battle the Empire lost, it was a battle the Empire engineered for itself, and then lost due to arrogance, rigid doctrine, and blind faith in control. So how did an empire with overwhelming firepower, the galaxy's largest navy, and a fully operational Death Star still manage to collapse in a matter of hours? Let's break it down. A trap designed to be perfect. By the time the Rebel Alliance arrived at Endor, the war had reached its climax. The Emperor Palpatine had deliberately leaked intelligence suggesting that the second Death Star was incomplete and vulnerable. The goal was simple: lure the Rebel fleet into a decisive engagement, trap them, annihilate them, and end the rebellion in one move. The Death Star orbited the forest moon of Endor, protected by a planetary shield generator on the surface. Unknown to the rebels at first, the shield was fully operational. When the Rebel fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they believed they had caught the Empire off guard. In reality, they had flown directly into a carefully prepared kill zone. The Rebel fleet. Exact numbers for the Rebel fleet vary between canon and legends, but what is clear is that it was diverse and flexible. The backbone of the fleet consisted of Mon Calamari MC-80 cruisers, supported by Nebulon B frigates, CR-90 corvettes, assault frigates, DP-20 gunships, and support vessels such as GR-75 transports and Quasar fire-class carriers. Alongside these capital ships was the Rebel Alliance's greatest advantage: starfighters, X-Wings, Y-Wings, A-Wings, B-Wings, and older Z-95 headhunters filled the battle space in the hundreds. While individually inferior to Imperial capital ships, Rebel fighters were flown by experienced pilots and organized into flexible squadrons capable of adapting mid-battle. Command of the fleet rested with Admiral Ackbar, whose instincts would prove decisive. The Imperial Armada, the Imperial Navy at Endor, represented the largest single concentration of firepower the Empire had ever assembled. At its core was the Executor-class superstar destroyer Executor, Darth Vader's flagship and the most powerful warship in the fleet. Supporting it were dozens of Imperial-class star destroyers, including Imperial 1, Imperial 2, Tector, and Victory-class variants, as well as heavy cruisers, escort ships, and, critically, interdictor cruisers. These interdictors projected gravity wells that prevented the Rebel fleet from escaping into hyperspace once the trap was sprung. On paper, the Empire should have crushed the Rebels within minutes, but war is not fought on paper. The fatal order. The moment the Rebel fleet emerged from hyperspace, the illusion of surprise collapsed. Fleet sensors detected massive Imperial formations waiting for them, and it became clear that the shield protecting the second Death Star was still active. Realizing the danger, Admiral Ackbar immediately attempted to withdraw. That instinct may have saved countless lives in another battle, but at Endor, it was already too late. Interdictor gravity wells snapped into place, cutting off every hyperspace vector. The Rebels were boxed in, surrounded by overwhelming firepower. At this exact moment, the Empire held a decisive, possibly irreversible advantage. And yet, the killing blow never came. The reason was simple and devastating. Palpatine ordered the fleet to hold position. Rather than unleashing the full might of the Imperial Navy, Palpatine insisted that the Death Star itself deliver the final destruction. Capital ships were instructed to remain at a distance, while waves of twin-ion engine fighters harassed the Rebel fleet. The Emperor believed fear, not efficiency, would secure victory. He wanted the Rebels to watch themselves die slowly, crushed beneath inevitability. That decision transformed a perfectly positioned fleet into a restrained one. It traded coordination for spectacle and flexibility for control. In doing so, Palpatine planted the seeds of his own defeat. Starfighters decide the early battle. The initial phase of the battle unfolded not between massive capital ships, but among swarms of starfighters. Imperial twin ion engine squadrons launched in enormous numbers, flooding the battlefield with interceptors, fighters, and bombers. Their doctrine emphasized numerical superiority and expendability. Pilots were replaceable, ships even more so. The rebels fought differently. Rebel starfighters were shielded, heavily armed, and flown by experienced veterans who had survived years of hit-and-run warfare. X-Wings and A-Wings outmatched standard twin-ion engine fighters in versatility, while B-Wings and Y-Wings posed a serious threat even to capital ships. The result was predictable but catastrophic for the Empire. Rebel pilots inflicted disproportionate losses, thinning Imperial squadrons at an alarming rate. Each downed twin-ion engine fighter represented not just a lost ship, but a shrinking margin of error. When the Death Star finally fired its super laser, obliterating the Mon Calamari cruiser Liberty, it demonstrated terrifying power, but also its limitation. The station could destroy one target at a time. Meanwhile, the Rebel fleet endured, regrouped, and adapted. Space that had once felt claustrophobic slowly began to open. Ackbar's gamble. Faced with annihilation, Ackbar made a move no Imperial commander anticipated. Instead of retreating or charging the Death Star, he ordered the Rebel fleet to engage the Imperial Star Destroyers at point-blank range. This was heresy by Imperial doctrine. Star Destroyers were optimized for long-range engagements, not close-quarters brawling. Rebel ships, particularly Mon Calamari cruisers, possessed strong shields and superior maneuverability. The sudden close-range assault threw Imperial coordination into chaos. Compounding the problem, Rebel commanders identified that Imperial sensor jamming and fleet coordination were being routed through a key communications ship, the battlecruiser Pride of Tarlandia, cutting the Empire's nerves. Rebel B-Wing and Y-Wing squadrons were sent to eliminate the communications hub, despite heavy defense from elite Imperial units such as the 181st Fighter Wing. Against expectations, the Rebels succeeded. With the destruction of the communications vessel, Imperial fleet coordination degraded sharply. Orders were delayed or lost. Star Destroyers fought as individual units rather than as a unified force. At the same time, the ground battle on Endor reached its turning point. The Rebel strike team, aided unexpectedly by Ewok resistance, destroyed the shield generator protecting the Death Star. Suddenly, the station was exposed. The fall of the Executor. With the shield down, Rebel strike fighters raced into the Death Star's superstructure. To protect them, Ackbar ordered concentrated fire on the Imperial flagship Executor. Sustained bombardment weakened the Super Star Destroyer's defenses. Then came the moment that symbolized the Empire's collapse. An A-Wing fighter, out of control after a hit, crashed directly into the Executor's command bridge. The ship lost control, drifted into the Death Star's gravity well, and slammed into the station's surface. The largest warship ever built was gone, destroyed not by superior firepower but by chaos and chance. The Death Star explodes. Inside the Death Star, Rebel pilots struck the main reactor. Proton torpedoes detonated within the core, triggering a chain reaction. Within minutes, the battle station exploded, taking massive portions of the Imperial fleet with it. With the Emperor dead, the Death Star destroyed, and their flagship gone, surviving Imperial forces retreated into hyperspace. The battle and the war was over. Why the Empire lost? The Empire did not lose at Endor because it lacked strength. It lost because it refused to adapt. Palpatine's obsession with control led him to micromanage a battle that demanded flexibility. Imperial doctrine undervalued starfighters and overvalued intimidation. Commanders were trained to follow orders, not improvise. The rebels, by contrast, thrived on adaptability. They exploited weaknesses, took risks, and reacted faster than their enemy. Endor proved a timeless lesson of warfare. Overwhelming power means nothing if it is used poorly. So, what do you think really decided the battle? Palpatine's overconfidence? Ackbar's bold tactics? Or sheer luck in the chaos of war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dives into Star Wars battles, strategy, and hidden details, Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.